Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're stepping straight into the dark, grayscale underworld of Geometry Dash to look at a level that completely broke the community. We're talking about a level that pushed human reaction times to their absolute literal limits and honestly generated way more drama than anyone could have ever anticipated. We're talking about Acheron, arguably the most chaotic, controversial, and downright punishing extreme demon in the game's entire history. So get comfortable and focus in because the story behind this one, it's absolutely wild. First, just imagine the sound of pure, unfiltered adrenaline and obsession. This reaction transcript you're seeing, this essentially breathless, hyperventilating chanting from a classic extreme demon completion by YouTuber John Red GD, that is the exact high-stakes environment that Acheron was born into. It's a subculture where players will literally spend years of their lives chasing a single, perfect 2-minute run. To really wrap your head around what it actually takes to conquer a level of this magnitude, look no further than the legendary player Zoink. When he finally verified Acheron, basically proving to the world that it was physically possible to beat, it took him a staggering 72,808 attempts. Just let that number sink in for a second. That is tens of thousands of crashes, resets, and moments of sheer, unadulterated frustration just to string together one flawless performance. But get this, 72,000 attempts is actually on the low end. Yeah, no kidding. Another player, Little Gig, who eventually completed the level in May 2025, took a massive 930,352 attempts. That's nearly 1 million attempts, and it's the highest recorded number for a completion of this level. It truly hammers home the immense psychological and physical toll this specific design demands from anyone brave enough to challenge it. Section 1. Creation of a Demon. Let's look at its July 2021 origins. So where did this absolute monster come from? Well, the lore behind the name itself is a pretty huge clue. In Greek mythology, Acheron is one of the rivers of the underworld, literally nicknamed the River of Pain, and it serves as the entrance to the underworld. It is such a brilliant thematic match for the level. Acheron features these incredibly dark, grayscale visuals punctuated by really sharp red accents. It visually represents this punishing descent into a painful underworld. The project was hosted and published by a creator named Ryamu, and it was co-hosted by the absolute legend Riot. It was designed as the second in a trilogy of hell-themed top 1 levels, but most importantly, it was built as the standalone successor to Tartarus. Acheron intentionally borrowed Tartarus's older nostalgic 1.9 style decoration, but then it completely ramped up the gameplay to a new era of modern impossibilities. Moving on to Section 2, Verification Drama, Leaks and Health Issues. Now, you know a level this anticipated rarely gets a smooth release, right? Originally, a highly skilled player named Wolvez was handpicked to officially verify it, but in September 2021, a copy was given to a player who then leaked it to another user named Xen, going completely against the creator's strict wishes. This sparked immense drama. I'm talking blackmail threats involving other notorious players, which actually forced Wolvez to drop the level for a bit. While he did eventually regain the verification role and managed an incredible 96% run, tragedy struck in April 2022. Wolvez suffered from severe anemia, and his worsening health forced him to step down from the project entirely. Section 3. The Open Race, a Global Challenge. So, with Wolvez having to step away for his health, the creators did the only thing they really could. They turned Acheron into an open verification. This sparked a brutal global race. The absolute best players in the world, guys like Zoink, 1Alpha Helix, and Doggy, just threw themselves at the level. Imagine perfectly executing over a minute of the hardest gameplay ever conceived, only to suffer a heartbreaking crash at 97%. Both Zoink and Doggy experienced that exact nightmare. Trick even crashed at 98%. Ultimately, though, Zoink emerged victorious on August 22, 2022. Section 4. Anatomy of the Nightmare. Let's look at Acheron's gameplay. Okay, so what exactly were these top-tier players crashing on? Let's take a sequential tour of this hellscape. Right out of the gate, Acheron demands absolute perfection with an extended triple spike jump, which is actually a direct homage to Tartarus. From there, you move into a blinding memory segment wrapped in classic club-step monsters before hitting the drop at 17%. Here, you're thrown into a brutally tight triple-speed ship and wave section, but the real gatekeepers of the first half are the jumps in the 30s. The minicube jump at 31% is widely considered one of the hardest single inputs in the entire level, and that is followed immediately by an incredibly strict UFO click pattern at 34%. And if you somehow survive that first half, yeah, there is literally zero time to rest. You hit a Tartarus-style straight fly in the 40s that requires immense ship control. Moving into the 60s, there's a half-speed bridge that perfectly mirrors a famous section in Tartarus. By the time you hit the 80s and 90s, your nerves are completely peaking, yet the level forces you into microscopic, normal-sized straight flies and a series of final, nerve-wracking ball timings where a single pixel of miscalculation sends you all the way back to the start.
Section 5. Demon List Legacy. Debates and Rankings.
Now, beating the level was honestly just half the battle. The post-release period was pure chaos. Players discovered an alternate, slightly easier click pattern at that notorious 34% UFO part. Displeased by this quote-unquote skip, the creator, Ryamu, rapidly updated the level. He added spikes and trigger orbs that displayed mocking text like clueless or not cool man if you tried the alternate route. These rapid-fire updates actually made the level completely impossible for a brief period before they were reverted. Adding fuel to the fire, Zoink later admitted on a livestream that the version he verified was actually slightly nerfed in private compared to earlier versions. Because of those private nerfs, when Acheron was first rated on the official demon list in September 2022, it was controversially placed at number 2, right behind a level called Slaughterhouse. Well, the community was in an uproar. Many top players strongly believed Acheron was the undisputed hardest level in the game. The list moderators defended the initial placement, but as more and more data rolled in, they eventually shifted Acheron to the coveted number 1 spot in October 2022. You know, what's truly fascinating is how history repeats itself. The eerie parallels between Acheron and its spiritual predecessor, Tartarus, are just incredible. Both were highly anticipated levels that ended up as open verifications. Both sparked massive community controversies right after they were beaten. Tartarus had legitimacy issues, while Acheron had the placement and update drama. And impressively, both levels held on to the absolute number 1 spot on the demon list for over a full year. Today, Acheron's legacy is absolutely set in stone. It became only the 4th level in the game's history to hold that top spot for over a year. And here is the great irony of it all. Despite many top players publicly stating that the rigorous, punishing gameplay isn't actually enjoyable to play, it has somehow become the most completed level in the top 20. It boasts over 90 official victors. It is just a massive, unavoidable milestone for the community. Which really leaves us with this final thought. When we look at a challenge that demands upwards of 900,000 attempts, a challenge that forces players to endure literal physical limits and years of relentless failure just for 2 minutes of perfection, where exactly does the line between a gaming hobby and pure, unfiltered obsession blur? It's a really fascinating look into human dedication. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep your curiosity sharp.